Hi, my name's Aaron Parker. I'm a solution architect at Insentra, and I'm here with the guys from FSlogix. I thought we might sit down and have a bit of a geek speak, talk some technical questions, chew the fat, so we can get an understanding of who FSlogix is, what their value proposition is, and what FSlogix and Insentra can do for our partners. So what I thought we might do is just start with, we'll go down the line here, introduce everyone. So Nigel, can you introduce yourself?
Nigel Woods. I look after the technical side for UK, Ireland and most of Europe.
Kevin?
Kevin Goodman. I am the CEO of FSlogix and one of the co-founders.
Randy Cook, also one of the co-founders, and I do all of the technical stuff, development, support, QA, things like that.
Dave Young, American sales, evangelist, yeller and screamer sometimes.
And I guess across the table here, there's quite a lot of history in this industry as well. Randy, you were previously at Symantec.
Yep.
Kevin, you're at VMware.
And RTO software.
Yeah, correct. And Nigel, you've been working in the channel for a while?
Absolutely. I was technical director of a FSlogix Platinum partner in London.
Fantastic. So I guess across the table, we've got a lot of experience with working with partner organizations as well. Can anyone who wants to put their hand up, can talk about, I guess, the value proposition, or who is FSlogix? What products do you have?
I'll take that.
And I thought we'd
So
talk about the value prop.
from a partner perspective, it's all about solving problems for the customer, right? Making sure that we're using the right technology at the right time to solve the problem that gives the end user a usable experience. One of the things we struggle with in EUC is we're taking that user's PC from them and saying, hey, use this virtual machine, whatever it may be. And if we don't make the performance and the experience like their physical PC was, they're not going to be happy. So from the FSlogix perspective, we like to help enable those partners to make sure they have the right tools available to them so that we can optimize that user experience, making sure that the profile load time is quick, right? That their ODFC files are local or seem like they're local, so that that performance for mail is good. OneDrive, making sure that we can optimize that environment for OneDrive. Ultimately, making sure that the end user has what they want for a reasonable experience.
Yeah, this is the way I talk to our partners and customers about is starting with that user experience. Just as you said, I think it's I want to move a user to a virtual desktop environment, and I want to provide them exactly the same or improve the user experience that they have or they expect on a physical PC. So FSlogix has a number of products. It was interesting there you started off, you didn't actually talk about product at all, you were talking about the value proposition. But for partners who don't know who FSlogix is, Kev, can you talk through the different products that FSlogix has?
Yeah, absolutely. So FSlogix has a suite of products, all intent on reducing the friction that it takes to get up and running on virtual desktops or, Citrix, Azure, AWS. We do that in a variety of ways. First of all, we help you with your applications. We have a product called Apps, and the idea is it's the anti-app virtualization in which you install the application into the base image. Then based off of Active Directory users and groups, delivery groups from Citrix, we'll actually mask or filter out the applications that don't belong to that particular user. So Randy would get all of the development apps, Nigel and I the sales-related apps, so forth and so on, all very, very seamlessly. And if you think about it, the only thing we're really virtualizing is Windows. The application itself runs at native speed. That's why you get the session density that you need, and that's why you get the performance that you need. Our next product that we have in there, also meant to reduce friction to get around there, is our Java product. Based on your URL, we can assign a particular specific version of Java based on that URL. Your other options to do that are, let's take Citrix for example. In XenApp, you could set up virtual servers, each serving up a different version of Java. And Citrix sells concurrent licenses, so what if you have a bunch of servers that you're publishing apps from? Well, what we're realizing as time goes on and what our customers are telling us and what you're telling us is that costs money. There's, what do they call it, the VTAX, right? Space on the UCS frame, your vSphere socket and stuff like that when it's absolutely not necessary. Our last two products that we have right now are concerned with data. So we hand in your applications. Now let's talk about your data. For years, we've been doing profiles in which, profile meaning your users' documents and all those things, your registry settings and stuff like that. For years, they've needed to roam those to give the illusion of persistence up in one of these hosted virtual desktops. And it's been difficult as the profile gets bigger to handle that. So we've had a lot of solutions come along that try to segment the profile or try to stream the profile down, and it requires a lot of subject matter expertise to figure out what application needs what registry setting, so forth and the like. Well, what Randy Cook decided a while back is that, you know what, that's not necessary anymore. No one has the time to do that. So he wrote a profile container, we call it, which attaches your entire profile when you log in. No more subject matter expertise of, do I need this piece of the profile or that piece of the profile? It's as if it was local. And because it looks like it's local to the users, neat things start happening. The apps that have problems with, say, folder redirection don't have that problem anymore. You don't have that SMB traffic going off to your network server. It's a variety of things that are going on there that just makes the user's experience just fantastic, regardless of the size of the profile. Now, we know that you may have some customers that have another profile solution. We've talked to these customers before, and they said, wow, I just spent a year and a half implementing another profile solution. If I go to my boss and say, hey, I got a great idea, let's cut that one out and put in FSlogix, I'll get sacked. So the situation is, especially in 2017, we think it's just going to get bigger in 2018, and going forward is Office 365. So we wrote a specific Office 365 container. As you may know, and once you go into Office 365, what you're going to find out is they're going to want you to go into cached exchange mode. You go into cached exchange mode, that means a big fat OST file. That means it's not going to go up on your folder redirection. That means everybody else's solution is left wanting. Well, Randy wrote an Office 365 container that can sit on top of our profile solution or any other profile solution that's out there. And it's very seamless. Couple of GPOs, you set it up, and next thing you know, you have Office 365 running as if you're on a local laptop. Sound good?
Awesome.
One of the things I want to add to that, just as we talk about other solutions out there, we can also lay under the covers for those other solutions, accelerating them. So no longer do I have to build that profile on the fly. I can actually have that profile sitting there ready for the user, connected, and then we could let other solutions lay over the top to say, you know what, Aaron, you really need to have a pretty screen saver, right? We don't want you to have whatever flashy thing you have going on. And Kevin, we want to have his screen lock at a certain time. So it gives us that capability to allow that enforcement of rules, yet not have to pull that data all over the network just to get it to the user.
And the key for me out of all of this is simplicity. Nearly everything we do is really easy to configure, really easy to get set up. I've put the Office 365 containers in live in 40 minutes because people need it. Doesn't mean that there is particularly the application masking pieces, which is complexity. You need to know your apps, but a lot of this is really, really straightforward to get up and running.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I see the same thing as well. If you compare, say, profile container to Citrix UPM, for example, 3 hours versus 10 minutes. But the idea with profile containers and Office 365 containers is not really, it's intended to augment existing products. It's not, my view is it's not intended to be competitive to a lot of these other solutions as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would think so, exactly.
Yeah.
We work with a lot of the partners. One of the number one things I do is just go in and help them augment that disk speed. So by being able to make that appear as if it's local, block level, they can then do the proper enforcement, make sure that the browsers are set properly, the apps are set properly, et cetera, et cetera.
So we've talked a lot about, I think, about virtual desktop environments, but a lot of the products, apps, and Java Control will work across physical desktop environments as well. Have you got any good examples of where that's being used?
I got one customer in particular that I dealt with that deployed it, that kind of surprised me by it. They started out virtual, and they loved what apps did so well, they deployed it to all their physical devices. Ultimately, what they were able to do is simplify down onto a single master image for their desktop, and say, you know what, I've got 100 different applications in there, but Dave needs Office 2010 because I can't use 2016. Randy really likes Office 2016, so he gets what he needs. And being able to divvy those apps up to the user based on what their true need is. And most importantly, when Dave decides that he can use Office 2016, all we have to do is drag my name from one user group to another user group. I log back in, and now I have Office 2016. No more of that wait, deploy, trickle it out across the network. Hopefully I get it before my meeting and all that good stuff. So it really shortens that time to deploy those applications for that end user.
So what about? Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, could you
I've
tell them about the police department?
Yes, absolutely. So we do one of the London police forces, and it's all physical PCs. It's Java. They have a Java app that uses Java 1.4.21 and another 3 different applications that run different versions of Java. They also have Windows tablets for their police officers, and then they realised that actually they can't run all their apps because it needs different versions of Java on a physical desktop. And so we went in and set up their Java system for them, so multiple versions of Java. Depending on which app they go into, we will hide the versions of Java that are not required for that app to work. So we can fix those physical desktops and those Windows tablets and make that work.
So am I correct in thinking then too that if I've got multiple Java versions and I have to have older Java versions, and if I'm mixing app masking and the Java control together, that's also going to improve my security stance?
Absolutely. So I've done a number of financial firms where perhaps it's a very old Java app. So what we can do there is we can say for that particular application, we'll allow that version of Java to run.
Yeah.
If you try and run Java any other time, it doesn't exist.
Awesome. So talking a little about virtual and physical, what about, say if we compare Microsoft, VMware, Citrix, right? We've got, we're here at Summit 2018, so we're talking about Citrix Workspace, Zen Desktop and so on, but there's also VMware Workspace ONE / Horizon, even Microsoft Pure IDS. What sort of value can FSlogix bring to those platforms as well?
So from a guy that spent a lot of his life in the virtualization world, we're agnostic, okay? All we do is help them optimize their environments so they can provide their end user what they need just in time, okay? So we don't really, it doesn't matter to us whether it's VMware, Microsoft, Citrix, it doesn't matter. As long as that Windows machine, Windows 7 and higher, 2008 and higher, is available, we can then go in and allow them to do things like masking, Java rules, profiles, et cetera, et cetera. So it gives us that opportunity to help them accelerate those deployments so that they can optimize their infrastructure so they're not waiting on I/O to copy a file from one file server to the user's PC or their RDSH XenApp session.
And what about, say, cross-platform? So whether I'm doing maybe an on-prem deployment, or I'm looking at deploying inside Azure or AWS or something like that, because FSlogix is agnostic, we can do the same thing across clouds or private clouds, or whatever you want to call it these days.
Yeah,
That's correct, right?
absolutely. And I've done a number of projects already, Citrix on Azure, AWS deployments, and yeah, it's independent. So, but very, very big focus on Citrix Cloud at the moment,
Yeah.
and that's a real key area for us because we can accelerate and improve the performance on those.
Do you have customers, say they're using profile containers, for example, is that making it simpler for them to be able to get those profiles between data centers or between an on-prem and say, an Azure environment as well? Is that sort of assisting?
So
Well, let Randy take that one and maybe give these guys a little hint of what we have going on in the future here and what we're thinking and where our roadmap is. I know by the time this thing goes out, probably some of this stuff will be announced. So why don't you give him a little taste of what you're thinking,
All right.
exactly what he's saying over there.
All right, I'll be careful. So, just to comment back on the cloud thing. So, when you use FSlogix, we actually reduced the load on the infrastructure. That, you know, we reduced your network traffic. We reduced the load on your file server. That all plays really well in the cloud because now you're saving money on some of those, because in the cloud you're paying for all those resources.
pennies per transaction, right?
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. So our software is making that better, and that's we're building our stuff to be able to really shine in that type of environment. So as we look forward, we see, especially as the costs become more effective and different services improve and things like that, we see a lot more cloud computing happening in the future, and we designed the products that we've got today to work well in that environment. That's the kind of company we want to be. We want it, at the end of the day here, we're going to be the company that you have to have in your cloud environment to make this stuff work really well. So along those lines, we've got a few things in the works that will make those types of things even better. And it's along the lines of what you're talking about. How can I easily migrate to the cloud? How can I easily fail over to the cloud?
Yep.
This cloud's cheaper today, so I'm going to use that one tomorrow. That one's cheaper, so I'm going to use that one tomorrow. Just really flexible. The kind of things that we're expecting to see out of cloud services. The real elasticity of the environments and things like that. So we're gonna make some really cool stuff happen along those lines.
So it's a better fit in with things like, instead of having to deploy, say, VMs for storage on top of Azure, for example, I can work with Azure File Services directly. That type of thing in the future, maybe.
Yeah, that would be really interesting. Yeah.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So I guess along those lines is improving or optimizing how customers and partners manage those environments. A lot of what we're seeing primarily seems to be driven by Office 365 opportunity. Can you share, anyone here on the panel, share anything from a partner perspective? How can FSlogix, I guess, help them find new customers or bring additional value to their existing customers? What advice would you have for customers to go out and find new opportunities?
So I'll take a little bit of that. We think that some of the plans we have in 2018 are helping the partners with some marketing type activities, so there'll be more opportunities for them to see us. You'll probably see, you may have seen it last year, there were some blogs coming out from Microsoft describing that to raise awareness with FSlogix and the partners and their customers. We hope to continue doing those things with our partners, the partners we're partnered with, the Microsofts, the Citrix, the Amazons, and the Azures. So raising awareness so that they know it's there. It amazes to me that every time we come to one of these conferences, people will come by and go, wow, I've never heard of you. It drives our marketing guy, crazy, because our website hits are through the roof. This is just such a large market, though, that we realize we'll have to do more and more with you partners to help you and get that reach. We do that through events and other things like that as well, and we can hope to continue to do more of that in 2018.
And a lot of times, the end user, the IT person, doesn't really know they have a problem until they get into it. And meaning, they go down this Office 365 path that was decided outside of IT. It was decided by somebody in finance or an executive. And as they go down that path, all of a sudden, as it hits the virtual realm, they run into problems. Do I go online? Do I go cached? Et cetera, et cetera. And those things are what cause us the issues that bring it up to the partner. So the partners that are out there that can be available to say, hey, I've been there, I've done this with another customer, you're going to run into this problem. Let's be proactive on it versus reactive is where we see the partners really playing in to that migration phase of Office 365.
So bring this back around to sort of the start of our conversation then. It's about user experience.
Absolutely.
So I would put this perhaps in two camps. End user experience, and this is what I think the Office 365 conversation is driven by, but also administrative user experience or administrative experience. So simplifying, when we talk about apps and Java and stuff, is simplifying the administrative experience.
And what we see is we'll start with this Office 365. That's where 90% of all of the opportunities come for partners. It gets them into new customers perhaps because they have an option to fix some issues they have. We then start seeing the profiles come in, masking in Java, and suddenly it's a full suite opportunity. It's a great revenue earner for them, but also you're rescuing potentially a customer that you wouldn't have had the opportunity for before. So these sort of products are really improving performance across the board.
Yeah.
As you say, the key piece is the user performance for Office 365, but the masking and the Java pieces are the pieces that fix things that the administrators have never been able to fix in the past.
Yeah. So any hypervisor, any broker, any cloud, complementary to a lot of other products as well. So there's anyone who might come and talk to you about any of these sort of different products or opportunities, there's probably going to be some sort of fit in there for FSlogix. So final question, I guess, is there been, just really quickly, has there been anything interesting that you've seen at Summit that you didn't see before? You said people have come to you and said, oh, I didn't know who FSlogix was. Or is anyone new here at Summit that you found
My
interesting?
favorite one here was a guy that got promoted. So he went down the Office 365 path, wasn't going well, engaged with us, became a hero, and got promoted. I like those. Those are my favorite ones, right?
Nice.
We turned a zero into a hero, right?
Yep.
What was going to go
Nice.
bad turned out great. That was my favorite thing that I saw here. Lots of good technology that has come about. I think we have a great play in what's going on in the future, and it's really exciting to be here at this time. Really exciting.
So if I think about, I mean, the real opportunity for a partner with our software is to delight their customers with this software. It does what it says, it's easy to implement, and it's a dramatic improvement for the end user. It's a must-have at this point. You know, for anybody who's doing a roaming profile type of scenario, whether that's Citrix, VMware, physical, even, you know, whatever. This is a must-have product if you're doing Office 365 and in any of those types of environments, and it's just night and day for the end user.
My favorite sales tactic is to give the end user profiles ODFC and then tell the IT guy, you got to tell him he can't have it.
But the neat thing about it, though, Dave, is right, though, you can give it to one guy. It's
Yep.
not a rip and replace solution.
Yep.
You can try it with one person, try it with that noisy guy that's complaining the most and see if he's happy with it. We've had that situation with the large architectural firm where people were begging to get on the pilot because they heard about how good the
Right.
performance was. And you can add them one at a time if you need to, or a whole group, or 4,000 to 100,000 you can add whenever you want to. But during that evaluation period, our customers already know it's going to work before they roll it out to production.
And for me, it's the Citrix Cloud. The whole announcements around that, the real push that Citrix are giving, that's only going to work if you're going to put our stuff in as well.
We've had a partnership with FSlogix now for probably close to 18 months. From my point of view, I think it's going pretty well. I
Absolutely.
really enjoy the product. On the other side of the fence, why Insentra? What have you guys get out of the relationship with Insentra?
It's pretty simple. So you guys are on the other side of the world from us, literally, right? You're on the other side of the world from us. But as far as our customers know, you're FSlogix. Everyone who's bought that, you're just an extension of us. And we couldn't do that if we didn't have the people like yourself and your team in there to be able to articulate the value prop and to be able to handle all the logistics of the billing and training up resellers and everything like that. It's as if I went down there and hired each and every one of you myself and then traveled to manage you. I don't have to do any of that stuff. This is the perfect partnership for us. It's a place we would never be able to get through without your help. It's just been a wonderful partnership for us.
Awesome, thank you.
And you guys make some darn cool videos.
Do we get to ask him a question? Sure. What do you think of all the name changes?
Name changes.
Yeah, for the Citrix products.
Citrix name changes. Well, it's the we're on the name change train. Toot toot. It's this thing that comes around every so often. Look, this time around, I'm kind of. It doesn't sound like it's an arbitrary name change like it might have been previously. This time, the name change kind of makes sense because of this move to the cloud and everything. In the keynote yesterday, in the technology keynote in the afternoon, it was all about Citrix Cloud, Citrix Cloud, Citrix Cloud. So I think from that perspective, it probably makes more sense than it perhaps did previously.
I think the other key is that we reference the articles and the blogs that you create as Insentra across the world. So, your name is being used in great esteem across the world.
I do a lot of talking about 3 of my friends that did a road show several years ago, and they talk about the number one problem in my VDI deployment. Do you recall that road show you did?
Yeah. I think so, yes.
Yeah, about folder redirection.
Yes.
And I use that because, the 3 guys that did that talk many years ago were, industry experts, right? And as we look at what we have done with folder redirection, I think a lot of organizations are realizing that we stretched it past its limit. And as we start to look at that stretch past the limit, I've got a couple choices. I throw IO at it, right? Stick my head in the sand, do nothing. Or I find newer technology that allows me to address the problem in a different manner. And that's one of the exciting things for me is we're now getting that newer technology that wasn't available 8 years ago, right? And we're able to make that environment better for the end user. So thanks for doing those road shows.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so one other additional thing I will say is it's not difficult to understand this. There has been a lot of work that has gone into this product to make it look this easy. And it takes competent people who have a lot of skills, who've been there before, who can figure out the reasons why that's all working. Yeah, sure, we make it look simple. The customer is many times is going, I've been told I've got 99 problems and folder redirections
is all of
every
them.
one of them. And it's going to take an Aaron Porker to go back and say, hey, you know what? I have found the solution to that because I'm the one who originally talked about that problem initially. And Insentra's just stocked full of people like that can help us. And that type of thing that type of knowledge transfer is exactly what you need to transfer to your partners so they can go talk to their customers and tell them all those things of why this is going to work. It's actually not magic when you look at it. And I hate to pierce the shroud here, but it's actually not more, it's just good old-fashioned engineering.
Well, and you notice that it's a bunch of old guys sitting at the table, right? We've been through this. We've been through this game once or twice, right? And so you have a lot of experience from the industry. I remember going out and designing VDI deployments that were based on file shares, right? How many users could I get on a file share and get good performance? And as we start to look at that change, having the expertise like yourself, where you and I can exchange an email about a concept and you get it, right? Or people on your team. I don't have to spend a ton of time training your guys because they understand what's going on in the industry. They understand technology. And so to have that conversation with your team is very, very easy. It's sharing the concepts of what the technology does. This guy's done a great job of making it all easy. I mean, he types like the wind, right? But it's being able to understand the concepts behind it so you can go out and do proper architectures, design properly, and implement properly.
Fantastic. Excellent. So thanks very much for your time. Good to see you guys as always. So for any more information you might want to have on FSlogix, just go to the Insentra website, insentra.com.au/FSlogix. Thank you.